What's going on? Let's see here. Oh, forgot that again. welcome. So today, we're going to be looking at dbus. So I recently learned about this a little bit. I guess let's make that a little bit bigger. Dbus basically appears to be this kind of Linux user space bus that some of these systemd type daemons use. So, hey, hello, welcome. Apologies for the impromptu stream. I just decided I felt like streaming about 10 minutes ago. And I've got a couple hours skill tonight, so yeah, welcome. So I guess dbus is kind of, I've worked with netlink in the past, and netlink is kind of like a Linux kernel user space to kernel communication mechanism. Dbus has some of the same concepts, but it's purely user space, so this is pretty interesting. It uses some strange terminology, so what you can do with dbus is control things like systemd or network manager or modem manager, which is what we're going to do today. And it allows you to kind of send IPCs between different Linux processes, although I guess this could be used without Linux as well, by connecting to the system bus that is running. So when you open a connection to dbus, you look up a service. So the service, for example, is something like org.freedesktop.modemmanager, and then within the service you have an object, which is like an individual modem or the daemon itself. And then you have the interface, which is what the object implements, so you can call methods on it. So there's really a lot of weird OOP type stuff going on here. I pretty much just learned about this today. We are using the Go dbus package. So yeah, I will show you all what I have so far, and we'll see what's going on. So pretty much as far as I've gotten right now is we are creating a dbus client type, and I'm going to wrap up some of the values. So this is all very, very work in progress. I pretty much just got this working. You open a connection to the system bus. So there is the concept of either the system bus or a session bus. Daemons that listen for the entire system, like controlling hardware such as network manager or modem manager, those listen on the system bus. There is also the session bus, which is tied to an individual user. So once we open a connection to the system bus, we are able to access objects on that bus. And actually, I can use the handy little program here. So systemd comes to this busctl program. This can actually show you all of the different applications that are using dbus at any given time. So the connections up top that start with a colon, you can think of as kind of like clients in systemd type terminology. So those clients are connected to the well-named service or the known services down below. And you can kind of think of this like DNS for dbus. Like, for example, we're connecting to org.freedesktop.modemmanager1, and that maps to wherever modem manager is listening, which in this case looks like this 1654. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is we connect to that modem manager service using this handle, and within modem manager we can actually access different objects. So if we want to look at, for example, the top level information, what is introspect? I have been playing with a lot of commands today, so bear with me really quick. I've got a Go program that seems to work, but I kind of want to show a little bit of what I've learned. So introspect, modem manager, and then we need this object path, so org free desktop modem manager 1. And when we introspect this, you can actually see there's a few different things going on here. So we've got a few of these interfaces. These are where the methods and properties and such within dbus are defined. Again, I learned this all today, so I apologize if I get details wrong. So we have a couple of built-in interfaces here, like dbus introspectable, which is how you can generate documentation, dbus object manager and peer, I'm not exactly sure, but then there is dbus properties, and that's actually where you can get information about the device. What will be the end goal? So I want to be able to pull stats from modem manager because I'm using it to control my LTE modem, and I want to be able to do that using dbus because that's the mechanism that modem manager speaks. And by using Modem Manager, I don't have to deal with a lot of low-level modem functionality myself in a different program. So it seems like even on a headless machine, this is probably the best way to manage an LTE modem. So looking here, we're basically connecting to the base Modem Manager object, and you'll see that we have this property here, this string that tells you the version of Modem Manager. So we can actually get a hold of that. Let's see here, call... I was trying a variety of different things earlier, like sending AT commands. Let's see if we can call the get properties thing and get a hold of that data. Org free desktop dbus properties get all. So we're gonna see if we can get all of the properties for modem manager itself. And I think that, what's the calling syntax here? SS. This is some kind of like type in dbus terminology. I don't want sudo. Too few parameters. Empty string. I don't remember exactly how to do this through the command line, but we can do it with Go, which is pretty cool. So what I have so far is I am creating this program over here. We open a connection to the dbus system bus, which is where ModemManager is listening. We are able to query information. So we open an object here. The object points to the instance of ModemManager itself. So the service is org.freedesktop.modemmanager1. The object is /org/freedesktop/modemmanager1. There's a bit of confusion here. I feel like some of these concepts are slightly redundant, especially with regards to like these paths. And then to get the property, we have to define the interface that we want to query, which is org.freedesktop.modemmanager1.version. So I've got a couple of helper methods here, so we don't have to keep typing this out. So this will actually query the version property that exists within the ModemManager object. And when we do that, we get back this dbus variant type, which is basically an empty interface, and we can do a type assertion. Looking a little bit further, what I was working on before the stream a little bit is fetching information about a modem. So each modem exists as a device node in this tree, so we can query for modem 0. And then for modem 0, we're calling this getAllProperties method. We invoke the built-in dbus interface, org freedesktop dbus. We invoke the properties getAll method here and specify which dbus interface we want to get all of the properties of. And this basically gives us back a bunch of key value pairs that contain things like the device, model, revision, etc. So I guess if I just run this program really quick, you'll see what I have so far. Right. So this spits out a whole bunch of information, such as the capabilities of the modem, the plugin, the current hardware revision, the drivers that are being used on Linux, the ports, the device node, and sysfs. Like, there's all kinds of information here. So I pretty much just got started with this, and I wanted to build out some code to parse this so we can actually build a Go package, with the end goal being that we export Prometheus metrics for the modem. So you can actually, if you don't want to do all the dbus magic, you can actually just query ModemManager with mmcli as well. So if I do mmcli-l0, this lists the information from modem 0. Actually, that lists the modem itself, right? What was the command to L0 list? Show? I don't exactly remember. See, the problem is I've been playing with this for a little bit, but yeah, I can't exactly remember at the moment. Anyway, so we have a Go program. Let's work on that. So we're going to be here for probably a couple hours tonight. I think I can stream for at least 2 hours. So we'll see where that takes us. See where we can get. So pretty much what I have so far is kind of the way that I start every Go program. I started with a main. I was building logic in there as far as opening the dbus connection and poking at different interfaces. And now we're getting to the point where I'm starting to make some semblance of a library take shape. So for the calling code, I want to look something like this. You dial a connection to ModemManager. This is over dbus, and you produce this client type. You can look up modem 0 with the client as well. Looking at modem 0 is going to be the physical modem device attached to my router. And I can also look up things like modem 1 if you have more than one. And I'm going to make some kind of like for each method so you can actually iterate over them as well. And the idea being, once you get this modem object back, you can both retrieve the existing properties that have already been queried from it, or you can call methods, and the methods can allow you to do things like scan what frequencies are available, or connect or disconnect the modem from the cell network. So this is all functionality that ModemManager exposes. So let's get going again. What do I have so far? If I run this, we just list all the properties, right? So at the moment, we have to figure out how to parse these different dbus variant types. Dbus has this weird notation, this like at u. I think this means like unsigned integer. O means a dbus object. AO means an array of dbus objects, I believe. So there's a lot of different interesting stuff here. We're gonna have to figure out how to deal with these data types. So at the moment, I am basically just pulling them apart. I get all of the properties for a modem to query that it actually exists. If it does not, we can expose an error here, something along the lines of doesn't exist. And then we're able to parse the data. So this is what I've got so far. Let's see here. The goal for today is to basically get an initial commit of this out the door. That'd be ideal. All right, I need to build it. So since I am moving this from my Ubuntu desktop to my Nix OS router, I have to do static linking, or well, Go is already statically linked. I have to disable CGO. So if I do cgo enabled equals 0, go build, and scp the binary, I can actually build it on my local machine, disable the use of cgo, and it will run just fine on NixOS. So there we go. You can see we're already querying a few different fields, such as the sysfs path, the device information, hardware revision, and etc. So let's see what we can do with this. And what's cool actually is this dbus library should make it pretty easy for us to test, because this dbus bus object is actually just an interface. Oh, also I definitely want to plumb in context for sure. That's something we want to do. So let's do that now. CTX, this way, if we plumb into context, then users who care about cancellation can do that. I don't suspect that any of these calls would take a long time, but definitely it would if you were doing something like scanning frequencies, I think. Context. Get all properties. This takes a context as well. And then we do call with context, I believe. Yes. Okay. Yeah, apologies for the impromptu stream. It's been a bit of an interesting day. I had hang on a sec. I started looking at this over lunch, and I was just kind of excited. Like, this is the first time I kind of understand how this all fits together. So I actually found a couple of articles that were pretty useful. Some folks in the Gophers Slack sent them to me. So, in particular, I would check out this one. I'll drop this in the chat as well. This is by the folks who are Leonard Puttering, the person who does the author of systemd. If you check this out, this gives you kind of a overview of some of the dbus concepts. So things like, let's see here. A bus is where you look for IPC services. A service is a program that offers some IPC API on the bus. Kind of goes down the whole hierarchy of how everything fits together. So this was pretty useful for me. This helped me understand kind of how all the concepts fit together. Although I still haven't been using this for very long. I feel like it's awfully complicated compared to something like Netlink, but I've been working with Netlink for a few years, so it's a little different. Let's pass. Can we pass that? Hang on a sec. I wonder. So this dbus object has these handy methods like get property and such, but the problem is if you call these, oh, it's an interface. If you call get property and the like, let's see here. Yeah, so it's doing a call, but it doesn't support any context plumbing. So basically, I can probably just call this myself. I mean, I can basically just do this direct call. So if I do this, so we're going to call on the object with context. We're going to pass the context throughout our entire program, so you can actually cancel dialing as well, which seems like a good idea. Org dbus free desktop dbus properties gets. That's the same thing I have below. No flags, and then we need to pass the arguments, which are the dbus interface we're querying and the property. So the interface in this case is, isn't it just org free desktop ModemManager 1? And then the property is version. So I think what we want, let me hang on a sec. What code did I have here before? So let's copy this really quick. What did I replace this with? Get property. Okay. So I think what we need to do is replace this as follows. So get property, if error, version is going to be a dbus variant, just one, I think. Let's see here. So basically we're doing this call manually, so that way we can plumb in context cancellation. So this is just going to be interface path, I think, with no arguments, because we're not actually passing this version parameter. The dbus library is doing a little bit of magic for us, and we need to do it ourselves now. So if I pass in version, we do the call, and we're going to store the result in this version output. Let's see here. So I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it will. Or something along these lines should work. So version is a dbus variant, right? I think. And then we do the context plumbing again. Context. Okay. CTX cancel, context with background. With cancel, right. Context background. I really should set up a snippet for this because I write these couple of lines literally all the time, you know? Context plumbing and context plumbing. Okay. Let's see if that compiles. Does not. 47. Let's see here. Okay. Right. Version value string. Because now we're... Well, I guess we could just call it V, but... Anyway. Yes, it works. So we have successfully replicated the same call, but with context support. So probably what I will do is I will factor this out into another helper. But yeah, that seems to work. Cool. I guess the idea being here, I don't want to keep repeating some of these. May I ask a totally irrelevant question about Go modules? Sure. I'm not an expert on modules by any means. I often will just allow Go please and whatever to just do its job. So perhaps I can help, but if nothing else, maybe I can point you in the right direction. So that works. Cool. This is just getting a single property. So actually, I guess we probably want to factor this out into its own method as well. So get all properties. We'll call it get all instead. Get all. Produces a map of dbus keys and variants, and get is going to produce a interface prop. So the dbus interface and the property. So we're going to factor this code out, tidy things up a bit. Dbus variant. Is there a tool to show new major module versions of a dependency? I'm almost positive there are, but what's actually pretty cool is if you're using Go Please, at least with VS Code, if there's an update for one of your dependencies, it will actually tell you here. It'll pop up a little thing that says you can upgrade to this version. This module is brand new, so it doesn't include that, but that is something you can do. Capra, thank you so much for the follow. So maybe... If you're not on the Gophers Slack, you should be. That's an excellent community. I would definitely recommend checking out the Gophers Slack. And if you go to the tools channel, there are lots of members of the Go team there and such. It does not if there's a V6, for example. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Maybe there is. Maybe not if there's a V6, for example, for dbus. Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. Perhaps some folks in the Gophers Slack could have better ideas. But it's just not my area of expertise, you know. You're trying to interact with a Git server based on Go using Node. Do you think this will help? I have no idea. It's been years since I've done. It's been years since I've done Go. Oh, so this is exporting. It's using Gopher.js. Interesting. Yeah, frankly, I have no idea. I'm not really familiar with that ecosystem. I've never really played with like Gopher.js or the WASM stuff in Go. I would check out Gopher Slack as well. I suspect that would be a good place to ask. There will be somebody there with more knowledge. So if you look up for the invite.slack.golangbridge.org, I would definitely check that out. That's a great place to ask questions about Go. And there are definitely folks there who can help. Dbus variant and an error. Is this an interface? It's a struct. Okay, we'll do a pointer. So, call with context, properties get the interface, interface version. And we store the result into out, right? Why isn't this compiling? I'm not actually sure. Unexpected return. Error not equals nil. When these lines get too long, it gets difficult to tell what is what, you know. Pass the address of that. Okay. You couldn't get that prompt kill query to work for some reason, had to join on a shared field. It's not a great day. There's a reason I'm looking at this. Yeah, I mean, PromQL is definitely can be a bit of a bear. I think the Prom Labs, Julius from Prom Labs just released like a cheat sheet that might be pretty useful. So, promlabs.com. Man, it's warm in here. I've been working all day and now I started streaming and like my computer's just been on. Where's the cheat sheet? Resources. PromQL cheat sheet. This is a pretty damn good reference, I would say. I would check this out. Perhaps it could be useful. Okay, we created that helper. Let's factor out 103 undefined version. Right. Property. So we need to pass the interface and then the property. So this is our own version of Git properties. We have Git and Get all. we can now replace this direct call with a call to var get context object interface path. There is nothing here because we're querying the base interface for Modem Manager and the property. Syntax error? Unused, right. Does that work? Yes, it still works. Excellent. Okay, we got a couple of helpers factored out that can tidy things up a bit more, which is great. Cool. I mean, I suppose I could make it so you pass in the interface path and it hacks off the last portion like the other one does, but I don't know. We're going to need to play around with this some more. It seems like some of the dbus conventions are just strange. Like, I don't fully understand how everything fits together yet. I find it extremely confusing, for example, that you get this is a service, this is an object path, and then there could be an interface with this exact same name. So you end up having to type the same thing like in busctl for example, 3 times in order to like query a property, which is quite confusing. But thankfully in Go, we can build a bit of scaffolding that makes it easier. Vishal Bhatia, thank you so much for the follow. I hope I got your name right. So this is just a quick little call to get the version of Modem Manager. I want to be able to query this so I can determine if the dbus, something's actually listening on dbus. And in theory, actually, I think Modem Manager will be activated when I query for it over dbus by systemd. So there's some potential for some pretty cool automation here as well. Right, so this seems to work. Let's, maybe we should get a bit of a scaffold going for like test coverage, right? Or do some, move things around. So let's see here, fixed, let's see here, service, object, prefix, etc. for communicating with Modem Manager using dbus concepts. Object path, prepends its arguments with the base object path for Modem Manager, and interface path prepends its arguments with the base interface path for Modem Manager. It kind of bugs me having software with capital letters in its name. Like the fact that it's Modem Manager and you have to refer to it that way with like systemd. It's like, oh, why? On that topic, never create Go repos with capital letters. Like it's not worth it. It's so annoying. Like, yeah, don't do it. This package is going to be called Modem Manager, all lowercase, because I don't want to hate my users. Package Modem Manager enables control of Modem Manager over dbus. Enables Go programs to control Modem Manager over dbus. Package Modem Manager enables Go programs to control Modem Manager over dbus. Seems good. Okay. Ship it. Let's see here. So a client is a... I just want to get the skeleton going here pretty much, and then we write a couple of like tests and just make sure what we're doing is like sane. But this does seem to work, so I think we're going in the right direction. Cool. All right. Oh, more people here than I expected for an impromptu, literally no notice stream. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Let's see here. So a client is a client allows control of Modem Manager. Dials a dbus connection to Modem Manager. Dial does the dbus connection to Modem Manager and returns a client. Seems good. So, assuming Modem Manager didn't actually exist in your system, this call right here, this get properties call, would return something along the lines of property or unknown method, I think. So there's actually a dbus error type in the Go dbus package that we're going to be able to use to implement some of the standard things like OS is not exist and etc. So that will be something I will test for sure. See if Modem Manager is running. See if MM is, I guess not running because in theory systemd could activate it. It's available on the system bus. And this will actually indicate to you whether or not you can actually control Modem Manager, because if we just open the systemd bus and return a client, then you don't actually know if Modem Manager is available or not. We're definitely going to want to do something with these type assertions as well for these dbus variants. I think I'm actually going to steal some code from my AT modem package, which coincidentally, if anybody was here when we were building that, we cannot use that anymore because Modem Manager is controlling the AT interface of the modem. So you can actually issue raw AT commands, assuming you have Modem Manager running in debug mode, but we do not have that at the moment. So I think probably what I'm going to have to do is, kind of a shame actually, scrap that code. But there's actually a concept in there we can steal, which is kind of the type assertion parser thing, which takes some value and unwraps it into the proper type or returns an error that we can check in a concise way. So we will port that code over shortly. Rexon, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Closes the underlying dbus connection. A modem is a modem device. A modem is a modem managed by Modem Manager. That's fantastic, right? A modem is a modem managed, modem controlled. Let's go with a little something different. A modem is a modem controlled. It's a device controlled by Modem Manager. So what I can't decide here is, it seems like it's reasonable to me to fetch all of the properties and expose them as fields in the struct. And we're going to embed things like the client type, because by doing that, we're going to be able to make further method calls. So for example, with the modem, you can actually tell it whether you want it to connect or disconnect from the cell network. And that's something we could potentially expose to our users. So I think we're going to embed the client like this by putting it in an unexported field with a pointer. But we'll probably put the rest of the fields as exported fields within the modem struct, I think. Right, so modem fetches a modem with index I. If the modem identified by index I, if the modem does not by an index, if the modem does not exist, an error compatible with errors is, must error not exist, is returned. So right now you're going to have to actually check each individual modem. So assuming you had 3 modems attached to a machine, you would see modems 0, 1, and 2. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a for each function so that does this for you. So basically for each modem you get to do some operation, because we're going to want that in our Prometheus exporter. Let's see here. Open slash modem 0, etc. Open the object for 0, etc. Let's see here. So this is going to fetch all of the properties from the modem interface. So fetch data from the base modem interface, so that way we can allow further calls later on. And fetch all data from the base modem interface. Fetch all the modem's properties from the base modem interface. So the thing is, like when I'm writing code like this, some of these, dbus concepts and stuff, this is all new to me, and certainly for people who are probably here in the stream, as well as people looking at this code later on. So I definitely tend to err on the side of more documentation than is necessary. That's just my personal style, Parse all of the properties into the modem's exported fields. Right. And then parse is going to handle each of the fields. So parse parses a properties map into the modem's fields. And then we have our helpers. So actually, I guess I'm going to put these back up top right now because this is where the service and object live. Yeah? No. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's not like they're big helpers or anything. Right, so get fetches a gets an object's property from an interface from a dbus interface. Is the system Ubuntu? Yes. So the system I'm developing on right now is Ubuntu, but the hey, Catscorn, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Good to see you here. The system I'm developing on right now is Ubuntu. The router that is running the modem and such is NixOS. So that's why I'm doing the Cgo enabled equals 0. So we're running two different distros here. Get gets an object's property from a dbus interface. Poisson, is that how you say that? Poisson? Poisson, my fish. Thank you so much for the follow as well. Get gets an object's property. Get all fetches all of an object's properties from a dbus interface. Hi, Matt. I have no idea. Hey, hello. I have no idea what you're talking about, obviously, but I did want you to know you're a cool, hip guy, and you are using an ergonomics keyboard by any chance. I am using the Kinesis Advantage 2, so I think I have a... Nice. I'm glad I got your pronunciation right. Let's see here. Is that right? Yeah, so if you check out that blog, that shows all the gear I use in my setup. I actually just got a new chair. I got a nice fancy Aeron chair too. But I use the Kinesis Advantage 2. A couple of years ago, I was having trouble with like repetitive strain injuries and such, and just kind of bad ergonomics overall. So I switched to the Kinesis, and I have never looked back. Let me see if I can I hold this up. The cable might be too short. Ta-da! Yeah, this is kind of a wild keyboard, but I really do like it. It's certainly on the expensive side, but the reason I went with the Kinesis over the Ergodox actually is because the Kinesis could be returned. So I think a lot of the Ergodoxes at the time you either had to build yourself or I can't remember the exact circumstances. You either had to build it yourself or maybe some of them were out of stock somewhere. So I did the Kinesis because it was available quickly and had great ratings. Like Kinesis as a company has been around for like 20 years. Johan says hi. Hey, what's up? But yeah, I would highly recommend the Kinesis. I'm sure the Ergodox is great as well. I do love my Kinesis though. I suspect that this is going to be my end game keyboard. Right. You've been looking at the Kinesis Freestyle as well. Yeah, this seems pretty cool too, especially for travel because it's got the two independent pieces. The Advantage 2 definitely is bulky. I mean, I'd never leave my desk, so it's not as much of a problem for me. But for travel, I might actually consider the Freestyle. That could be kind of nice. Failed to get property %q. Frost060, thank you for the follow. Thanks, continue coding. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm always happy to talk, answer questions, etc. I mean, ultimately what I'm doing is like not that, it's not that important, right? I'll usually get about as far as I really want to, and then, I don't know. I don't mind chatting though. I think we're going to remove the pointer here because even though I hate these ugly empty structs, I think it's just going to simplify the usage and avoid a possible panic waiting to happen later, maybe. So, yeah, we're going to need to unwrap these errors here in order to comply with the interface and such. So, I think this is probably a good place. So, let's see here. So, to do, steal the AT modem value parser code. So we're going to steal something we've done a few times on stream before, or at least once on stream before, but a pattern I've used several times. But for the time being, does this all compile? Yes, it does. Excellent. Let's get a little bit of test coverage on this, I think would be a good idea. So this is going to be called client. Let's see here. Client test echo. So I think we're going to need to test from within the package itself. If we do the exported test thing right now, we'd have to actually use the real modem manager, which we could do. We could make an integration test, but we're not going to right now. So this dbus connection, you get an object, and then the objects are an interface. So this dbus object produces this bus object, right? Which is an interface. So if I go to, let's see here. So the bus object, see, this is the problem with libraries that define interfaces for you, is that yes, it's convenient to use, but suddenly if I want to test this thing, I have to create my own type that has all of these methods. So this is why you should expose concrete types to your users and then allow them to create the interfaces on their code. So all I really care about here is call with context. Like, I don't think I'm going to use any of these other functions, like right now, at least. So we're going to need to wrap this a bit to make it easier to test, I think. So call with context, and every time we do a call, we're also doing the store method, right? Yeah. Stores the body into the provided pointers. Interesting. So you can return more than one value. Okay. It looks like the stuff I've seen so far seems to return like arrays. So, So I think we're going to just provide a small wrapper around this to make it easier to test. So instead of using this dbus object directly, we're going to wrap this just a little bit. Let's see here. So base object. So kind of what I'm thinking is something along the lines of type object interface call and ctx context. So give it an object. If you want to make a call on it, it has to have, let's see here. I guess I'm not sure how other people test this stuff. Maybe, I guess it's possible they provide like a mock, but I, again, tend not to like these very much. Let's see here. I have an idea. Let's see if there's something like a blessed way of doing this first. And actually, I'm pretty sure I could just type assert to this type and then create my interface anyway. It's kind of a strange API. Yeah, I think we're gonna try and simplify this a little bit for our usage because we don't really need a lot of the functionality available here. So call takes a context, which we always want to pass to everything. It needs the interface you're calling into. Flags, which is always 0, so I guess we could cheat. And then arguments, right? Method string. I guess we could, I don't know if we're gonna need flags or not. Args is an empty interface, and what type can we return here? Do we want to return a... see, the problem is I don't know enough about this to know if we're ever going to need to return multiple values or not. So as far as I can tell, the stuff I've seen only returns one value, but I don't know enough about this yet. I was trying to think of how we can make this the most testable. Oops, I want to save that. Let's go full screen. How do we make this more testable? Call with context returns a call struct, and then we call store on that. And store returns an error. So there could be one or more return values. So I guess this could look something like returns an array of empty interfaces and then an error. I mean, It's gross, but the thing is here is that dbus actually has like its own type system, so we have to, right now, we have to use the empty interface stuff. So let's see here. So type dbus object struct, given a, we're going to adapt the calling signature to our type. So given a bus object, bus object, bus object call, we're going to adapt this signature. Call return call with context, ctx method flags args, and then store, but we don't know how many arguments we need to store. I'm just going to assume we're going to store one argument for now. This is probably going to bite me later, but we're going to roll with this. Out is an empty interface. Actually, it can just be a dbus variant. No, it can't be, because you can either get a dbus variant or sometimes a map, right? I think. So, out. But then you have to do type assertions, and I don't know if I like where this is going. I could do this, so I can make it so the caller has to specify the output. So out is an interface, and then args is variable args. So you specify out. It has to be a pointer in order to be stored into this. Error, right? I know this looks like a mess. I make no promises that it won't remain a mess, but we're going to see what we can do. So does this compile? If we start using these bus objects, so now for our internal types, we'll call this on, instead of the dbus object, we'll call it on our own object types. Call context properties, store the output in out. Okay, we're getting there a little bit, right? Hey, Eddie, welcome. Good to see you here. Hope you're doing well. So I guess what I'm hoping is that by doing this, we're going to have something we can actually test. Cannot initialize. Wrong number of parameters. Context, method, flags, args. Oh. Did I forget to update my interface? I did. Out interface. Whew. What an adventure. Bus object. So we're going to verify to make sure these signatures line up. We're just going to do the compile time type assertion dance. I'm guessing they don't, which is probably, we're going to close this for now. It's probably why this won't compile. Yeah. Yep. Of course. I'm just going to do this. There we go. 36. So instead of producing an object now, we're going to make our own object type on our client, I think. Probably. But bus object. Oh. So bus object is a pointer struct with the field O containing the object, the interface itself. I'm starting to wonder if it's going to be easier just to implement their interface, but we'll see. Wrong type for call method, all this junk. Right. So did we forget to remove this one? Yeah, there we go. Okay, that cleans up a lot of the errors. So 72. So we're going to store, does it need to store its object? I don't really think so, actually. Well, I guess if you're going to be able to call methods on this thing, you're going to have to store the object anyway. So we can do that. So given a bus object, we call get. Eddie, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So I guess on our object now, we can also define like methods like this get method and such. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, I suppose. So bus object. Oh, okay. Now this is a raft type. It compiles, it runs. Okay, we're good. Now we can test this damn thing. I don't like getting too far without writing tests because then you tend to find a... you can find yourself in situations where an API you thought was decent is no longer appropriate, you know? So let's see here. So given a base object, create a client from the object, right? So func new client o object client error. This is going to be our entry point for tests. New client. Can actually inline the whole thing. It's getting a little gross though, so we'll multi-line this. CTX context. Pass the context as well, right? Okay, now we're getting to the point where, the system, Do we need a connection to the system bus? I mean, I guess we would, right? How does... Oh, so the object has its own implicit... I think the object must store some implicit handle to the dbus connection then. Because we're not passing the dbus connection down here, it's just able to invoke it directly. Let's see if we can go without this. Well, the problem is we want to be able to close the connection, so shoot. We'll pass it directly for now, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how this is all gonna fit together yet. We're gonna find out together. That's why we do this, right? Okay, this passes. So test new client, right? Test client. Before we do a table-driven test, let's just see where we can go with this. So we need to create some kind of test object that implements this interface as well, and then we can actually test on it. So, good lord, this is function signature. Type test object. Call is going to be a function that takes all of these things, and it's going to have a method. Test object call with the same signature that it just forwards the arguments onto that function member. CTX method flags out args unpack, I think. Object test object, right. So I think we're at the point now where we should be able to start actually using this. So let's go to new client. I feel like this abstraction isn't quite right yet. We'll get it. So C error new client. Context background, don't care. Nil dbus connection, which is gross, but we're going to do it anyway. Test object call, and call is going to take all of these parameters, right? So turn nil. ART, so failed to creates client. And then we'll just go ahead and defer. Well, I guess this is going to panic it, but I guess that's fine for now. Defer C close. Log print line method out args. Let's just get some debugging information going on here. So line 21, okay. Struct, right. 26. Found dot expected selector or type assertion. I'm missing a period. There we go. Okay, excellent. So we can see now we are calling org free desktop dbus properties get exactly what we'd expect. That's good. Index out of range 0 with length 0. Empty interface is nil, not string. Right. Okay, right. So basically what we're doing right now is we're going to pretend like we are dbus, and we're going to populate this value. So take out. Out is a pointer to... It's a pointer to a dbus variant, right? I don't know if I can actually assemble one of these. Maybe I can. Hang on. So out equals dereference the pointer equals dbus new. Isn't there like a new variant? It might end up being that this approach this work make variant. Okay, there we go. So make variant. Dbus make variant 1.0.0, right? So something like that. Invalid indirect of empty interface. Yeah, right. Okay, so I have to... Do I have to use reflection to populate this? I think I might. Right? I mean, we're being passed a pointer to an empty interface. I wonder if I could clean up the types here. So call one variant or a map of variants. Yeah. Shoot. I don't know if I like where this is going. Because if we have to start doing like reflection in the tests, then it feels like we got the wrong abstraction probably. So what is going on with the... Kinesis, did we wander into Prime stream? Yeah, I love my Kinesis. I'm not sure what Prime is, but oh wow, that's tiny. Right. What a weird API. So odd. And it has methods for like asynchronous calls, which I guess is a thing you could do, but I feel like in Go there's no advantage because you want the caller to control the synchronous or asynchronous properties of it. Yeah, I'm guessing this store method probably is doing reflection, right? Store. This has got to be some reflection magic, I'm sure. Store interfaces, yep. Actually, I guess I could just invoke this. So store stores the values contained in source to dest, which must be a slice of pointers. I guess I could steal this code. I could use this in my tests. But yeah, this is doing the pointer dance that we had referred to. So if I do, let's see here. So dbus store, the source data is copies the values in source to dest, which must be a slice of pointers. Does that mean I store dbus variants directly, or do I just store things like strings? So if I do like the array of empty interface, does this work? I have no idea. We're going to find out. Invalid pointer 283. Yeah, I think we're panicking within the... Let's see here. Oh, that totally worked. Test. I think. I'm actually pretty sure that worked. Steal, politely borrow. Yeah, exactly. Well, if it's good enough for the dbus code that we're using, I guess it's good enough for us, right? But it feels like a very strange kind of thing going on here. Anyway, so instead of calling new client, I feel like this abstraction's not quite right. Maybe version? Maybe something like this. So given a context and an object, produce a string and an error. This is going to be v error, return empty string, and then you return v value string nil. So something like this. Context, and then the object, which is this person, this thing right here. Error, return the client with the version field now fully populated. So we'll create our bus object here. We'll pass it into this, and then nil. So now instead of testing new client, we test test version, right? Version error colon equals version. Context test object. Failed to fetch version. Get version, I suppose. No more con in here, which is good. So const version equals 1, 2, 3. And we'll do a comparison. So we'll compare version against v, unexpected version, right? Cannot call non-function version type string. Ah, right. So want version you want. This feels pretty gross to me so far, but it does seem to be working, which is good. So we can actually verify the inputs and outputs to this function, which is good, but as far as abstracting away the dbus stuff specifically, I don't know. I think we're probably going to have like an integration test here that verifies like ModemManager is up and running. Maybe I only want this to work. It seems to work, at least. Method output args. So we need to check the method in the arguments, I think, at least. So we'll ignore the context. We're going to ignore the flags because we don't use those right now. So method and args. Hey, Eddie, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Hope you're doing well as well. Take care. So the method you expect is whatever was in the logs just now, right? So the version properties get right. So Sud Molikow, thank you for the follow. Hello, welcome to the stream. Let's see here. Method. Method get. Method get. And then method get all. Method get all. I'm not sure I love this testing abstraction yet, but it's better than nothing, right? Like, I want some way of testing this without actually having to have ModemManager running. That seems excessive, you know? Method get. So the method should be the dbus method get. Expected method, and instead of failing the test, well, I guess we could fail the test. Yeah, that'd be fine. T fatal F failed to store. It's all running in the same go routine, so it's fine if we fail it. But, well, I guess it's already. No, we should return error. So format error F unexpected method. Return format error F failed to store. Right. Okay. Does this still pass? It does. Okay. What else was I just thinking about? The arguments, right? So the arguments for this, we need to pass the correct property, which is going to be the version property. Version? Actually, 2 arguments, which are the interface. So if I print these, log print line args v. Yeah, so ModemManager 1 version. Right, so that's exactly what we'd expect. It's good. So the arguments you want args. An array of empty interface. I really hate empty interface. It definitely makes your code less tidy. You know, it seems like it's kind of one of those like big code smell things, which it is. Like I wouldn't recommend it, but unfortunately sometimes we have no choice, you know. Service interface path. So we want service version. The arguments we want. Do a diff. Expected arguments, and we'll return an error here as well. Error F. I think that'll work roughly. Cool. Okay. Well, we've got something. I wonder if I run this on my local machine, I suspect this is just going to fail because I can't contact ModemManager because I don't have ModemManager running here. Right. No such interface properties on path modem 0. Wait, really? So ModemManager is oh, it is running on my desktop, I guess, because I'm running Network Manager. Ah, okay. But there are no modems attached, right? So, huh. Okay. So it succeeds through this part, but then it fails down here. Right. I feel like we don't have the abstractions quite right yet. Like, need to mock, need to swap out these objects at a different level. So I think instead of having the object itself be, well, we also need something that can create objects swapped out as well. So plus object. So this works here, that's fine because we're testing the version call, but if we want to test the modem call, we have to swap all this too. So I'm honestly starting to wonder if it's better just to implement their interface. Like, it kind of stinks, but I think the complexity we're getting into here ultimately is bad, you know? I'm not happy with the way this is coming together. I'm wondering how people test this code, but also I suspect that they probably don't as much. But this has like all kinds of weird APIs. There's all these duplicated things like with context. Just don't like it. How do we want to do this? What is the answer here? I mean, I feel like we should test the dbus stuff and just shouldn't assume it works. We can definitely test this. This is going to be easy to test because we can just pass in a map. But I mean, maybe the answer here is to swap out these. Instead of doing the dbus testing, maybe we swap out these get and get all with versions that either call into the dbus APIs directly or our functions as well. Maybe that makes more sense, you know? So we have the get function that calls into the dbus object, or we'll have our own get function that has the same signature but produces an output we control. And then we can have like dbus integration tests, but we are no longer bound to the exact API of the dbus object. I think that's probably the play here. It's unfortunate because we want some tests that actually verify the dbus code works, but I am not sure the unit tests are the way to do it, just due to the complexity of this API. So, but then we're not testing anything real. We're just testing like code that's passing data around. I mean, I don't know. There comes a certain point where you have to weigh you got to find the right balance, right? But I'm just not super happy with where this is going. Or maybe we do both. I mean, maybe we keep this code, but we abstract away all the object concepts as a whole. Excuse me. I don't know. If there's if there's anybody that has suggestions, I'd be happy to hear them. I'm just not sure how I feel about this yet. But I think that our testing code has made things just more ugly and complicated, unfortunately. So I think we're gonna scrap this and go back to where we were. So with the store with context and stuff. What are you gonna do? So if error colon equals call with context, the method, flags, args. Store into the output, right? And I think we'll possibly keep this code. We might do some kind of testing like this, but we're not going to do it for the general library, I don't think. So, right, 35. Okay. That's why. Dbus bus object. So we'll remove the abstraction we just created because it's no longer helping us. It's hindering us a little bit. It's making things more difficult to deal with, I think, unfortunately. So the value type assertion to a string. Dbus bus object. Bus object. Bus object. Okay. Same signature down here, right? So call with context. But then we're calling get all instead, and there are no properties here because this is fetching every property of the interface. So the dbus interface, not the go interface. The terminology here is strange, you know. Okay, well, it still works. So that's good. So let's think about this again. So I think probably the play here, I think probably the play is going to be to swap out these get and get all functions. So functions that need to manipulate dbus directly, like instead of calling get or get all directly and doing the dbus dance, by default we will do that. But as an alternative, we're going to be able to construct this and we'll be able to construct this and swap out these functions, I think, is what I want to do. So the way that's going to look is something along the lines of we take the signatures of these functions. And for example, if we wanted to swap out the version call, we would do something like this. So func get, or get is a function field that takes all these things and returns a dbus variant and an error. So now, by default, we will construct a client. Hang on a sec. So we construct the object, and then we'll construct the client. So we'll create our client type here. Has a con field. C is a client, and get by default we'll call the get function. So the get field here refers to the get top level function. So now we call cget, and this will use the function that's specified here, right? So we still get the version, and but now we just add it directly to the client. So C version equals v value string. Let's see here. I guess we'll add the object as well. And I guess if the object is part of this, we no longer need to pass the object directly because it's part of the struct. No, we do. We still do. Never mind. So, I mean, I guess there might be ways around that, but I think what we'll do instead is we'll use the object field. The object's assigned, we get the version and assign that, and then we return the client and nil. So we've just refactored things very slightly. And anytime we call get now, we need to swap it, and we'll do the same thing for get all. So these are our typed helper functions that will save us a lot of trouble. Get and get all. So C get all. Let's see here. So the con produces an object, right? No, the client produces the object, so the dbus con produces the... How the heck do we swap that? Oh boy. Still might not be quite on the right track here, unfortunately. Huh. I guess this is what I get for streaming the first day I discovered this thing, right? We'll see where we can get. So I think this will work, but I think this is not going to help us for testing because we're still dependent on the damn dbus con to produce our objects. So now we need like a function that produces objects as well. Or I guess maybe what we do is we pass the object path as an argument here and completely contain the concept of an object within this function. I think that might be a good idea, actually. Can I take a label on one metric and in my join move to the other metric? Yes, you can. You want things like group left and group right. Those are the functions you want. So look those up. Lysandrock B, thank you for the follow. So I guess instead of storing the object here, instead of storing the object directly, we can encapsulate that all within this get all function. And we pass a path to an object, but not the object itself. So This gives us a bit more flexibility. So if we do this, then I think we can make this easier on ourselves. So we're going to need the ability to create dbus objects on the fly, which is fine, because actually creating the object is just basically building an address. So that's not really a problem. It's not like it's an operation that can fail. So we have the dbus object path. So given a dbus object path now, we can construct an object. So in order to do that, we actually need to pass in a connection as well. So maybe how do we do this? I can do this for the closure. I mean, I think this is a technique I've done before. So if I do something along the lines of like this, so if we create closures here, make get all, make get, then we can close over the dbus connection and eliminate it from our function signatures, which simplifies things. So op dbus object path, op dbus object path. So now the dbus, so now the connection's out of our way as well. So instead of passing cobj, we pass base object, right? Base object. That should work. So this no longer stores the object. It has the con, but the objects are created on the fly. And we can close over get and get all. So this is going to be something. So type get func is a function with this signature. We're doing this to save ourselves some trouble. So in order to make a get function, you pass in a dbus connection, so c dbus con, and it returns a get function, which is this whole function. So we're actually returning a closure which closes over the dbus connection. So given a path, the object you create and call into is c object service op. And there we go. So now we are completely isolated from the concept of a dbus object as well as the dbus connection, and we just have functions. So I think we're on the right track. Keep hitting shift something. Dbus con get all function. And we're making these typed functions because I don't want it to keep typing out. I want this big long line. Well, I don't know. I guess it's okay, but it's just a nuisance, right? Same idea. Given a path, we create an object, we call into it immediately, and we return the result. And the get all function is this signature. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. So this still works. And now we can actually test it because we are no longer bound to the dbus object and connection concepts within our functions. So we now have a client with fields that we can swap out for testing. And actually we can rename these now, thankfully. So we have a get func, and a get all func. And of course we could create like an interface here instead. I just think the function fields are kind of a nice lightweight way of swapping out one thing at a time versus having to create a new type. You could do either or, but this should work pretty well. Cool. Only an hour and 25 minutes into the stream until I'm actually happy with the work I'm doing. Such is life. And I guess in theory, if we wanted to totally abstract away the function, we could create this closer function as well. Or abstract away the connection. That's probably the most sane. So close. We're gonna have a close function, which is a func error. And then function error return con close. Yep. So now the dbus connection is completely abstracted from the rest of our code. Actually, can we just return? Just do this. Yeah. I don't even need that. Okay. C. Conflicts with the var in the same block. Oh, the client. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we have the ability to completely abstract away the dbus concepts and just have functions that we can swap in and out. So that'll be good. C close. Now it will be much easier to test this, because everything is just calling into these methods with paths and returning like well-typed objects. There's no more empty interface. Except for this dbus variant thing is effectively an empty interface, but we can work around it a bit. So we're going to need to write functions to test this stuff, like integration tests probably, but we can actually start writing tests now that work, which is good. So let's see here. Func new client. Init client. So given a client, it will initialize it and then return it to the caller. Return init client. Given a client structure, nil. This can actually return an error as well. So ctx context. I would love for the context to be a like a built-in type in goto, assuming goto ever happens. That'd be pretty cool. Right. So now this will be much easier to test. We can get rid of all of this. We can actually basically just start over on this. So now, given a client structure that has these fields populated, we can create something like a, let's see here, so C : equals a client. The client has a no-op close function, I suppose is fair. So func error does nothing. And for the time being, we can actually just populate get, which is a get function. So given a this signature, so copy paste. And again, you could argue that we're not really testing the real code anymore, which is true. We are going to do that at a different layer. We'll create integration tests. It'll be good. Return a dbus variant. So dbus make variant 1, 2, 3. No, right? So now we have a client. We do this init client. Error t failed to create client. We're going to make a test helper function for this, I'm sure. Test all the functionality. So defer C close. And we now check the client's version. So C version. Unexpected version. Does this work? It should. It does not. Not enough arguments. Okay. Well, that's an easy fix at least. Let's do this. There we go. Context background. It passes. There we go. So we have successfully abstracted away all of the dbus junk. We are now at the point where we say get an object from this path using this interface and pass this argument. So we can actually test all of those things. Like, this is what we really care about. So we've done a great work helping the open source community. Now we have to work for our people to join the cyber revolutionary army. Interesting. account created 35 minutes ago. Interesting. So now we're at the point where we can actually test the inputs and outputs and verify this all works as we expect. It does seem to, which is good. So let's close a few windows here. So const version equals 123. So the object path we expect here is the base, right? Base object OP, unexpected object path, right? Oh, string versus dbus object, fun. So I think I have to make that a, let's see here, base object, dbus object path. It's a little silly that they have this separate type. Maybe I'll just get rid of it. I don't know. It's like kind of nice, but it's also kind of annoying. I'm gonna grab some water. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, we're back. So I was debating if I wanted to get rid of this. I mean, I guess I could just totally hide away the concept of this thing. So, well. What's object path? I guess I could just return strings and then convert to the type. It's kind of seems. Does it even have any methods? So let's see here. Object path is valid. What does this even do? Interesting. Suppose what we could do is just verify the path is valid. Like, so if I do something like this, p : equals dbus object path. Path join all of this stuff, right? If not, p is valid. Panic. We'll do a panic here because these are going to be basically effectively constants. I just want to verify that they're actually correct. So panic f, ModemManager, bad, dbus, object path. Then we'll convert back to string for convenient use everywhere else. So. Let's be fine. No, I have to. I guess we'll deal with it. We'll use it. Dbus object path. We'll keep the panic check in place. It seems like a good idea. Because if we generate any invalid paths, they're not going to be useful for anybody. So, base object is not. Right, so dbus object path. And now line 26 doesn't work, so I have to stringify it. Fun. What a bit of a mess here, especially this function signature. I feel like I can do a little better. Prepend the base and join any further elements into one path. Since the paths in this program are effectively constant, it should always be. They should always be valid. Cool. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So we can test the Initialization. Now we have a client that works, and we can actually do other things with it as well. So let's see here. So client. It just populates the version. I guess it's not quite init client. It's weird. Well, I guess it does do initialization. It actually verifies that there's a modem manager listing on the other side. So the client creates a client. Client verifies a client can speak with modem manager. There we go. Cool. Okay. Wrap the dbus con completely to abstract away all of the low-level dbus logic for ease of testing, unit testing. Cool. Functions which are swappable for tests. Getting there, getting there, getting there. So now we have a client, so I guess basically what we'll do here is create a function that produces this client for testing. Turn dbus variant paragraph. I'm not sure if we can. I'm curious how much we can abstract here because we want to be able to swap this out for different tests. So I guess at the moment the only operations we have are the get for the version and get all for actually gathering data about the modem. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what level of abstraction I need here. This is getting a little long. I like to stick to my 80 characters if I can. I know it's kind of silly on 4K monitors, but the thing is, if you have 80 characters, then you're actually able to have, on a 4K monitor, like 3 or 4 panes of code side by side, which is pretty damn cool. So I am picky about line lengths, which is why I have this little ruler right here. And also I've got this VS Code extension that auto-wraps my comments, which is nice. Hey, hello there. Welcome to the stream. Test init client. Loex V2, thank you for the follow. Golang to find a one-line if error not equals nil. Haha, yeah. Such is life. I've even got an emote for it. It's not that bad. You quickly get used to it for sure. So well, I guess it doesn't really hurt to do this. It's going to make everything else tidier. So check the object path, check the interface. So the interface is the service. It's the base service, I think. No, the interface is not going to be base service. It's going to be yes, this is Go. This is a Go stream primarily. If you are interested, I recommend checking out some of the links here. In particular, the Go tour and the book are quite good. And then for some of the concepts, you can check out the blogs there. And also, I recommend joining the Gophers Slack if you're interested. It's a great community that has a lot of really helpful folks. So, would recommend. Unexpected. Maybe I should just call this the method instead, right? I feel like this whole interface concept is kind of confusing, but because you say interface, and I'm referring to it in the dbus context. Interface, unexpected interface, and unexpected property. So version prop expected property. Okay. The tests still pass. We are good. So let's see if we can write a test for the modem stuff. That'd be a good idea, I think. So basically what I want to do here is, well, let's see. We'll probably stream for another half an hour or so, I believe. Seems like probably a good amount of time. I know it's going to be a shorter stream today for sure, but we got plans this evening. Just figured I'd hop on for a couple of hours. Hopefully we can get this to a point where I can open source it today. We'll see. We'll see. Make get produces a get func, which can fetch an object's property from a dbus interface. Right. So make get all produces a get all func, which okay. Func is a function which get fetches just a dbus property function which I'm trying to learn Python, but the problem is that I can't really figure out what the things commands do in the text. You mean as far as like the syntax? I mean, probably to start at least, like I would go through like a beginner reference. I spent a long time since I've done Python on a regular basis, but I'm sure there's something like an interactive guide out there that explains like everything kind of step by step. Ultimately, everything in programming you can break down into like smaller and smaller problems until it becomes understandable. So take it one step at a time, and you'll be fine. You know, a function which fetches all property from an object and object's dbus properties. Okay. I'll want to move these down below now. I know I've waffled back and forth on this a few times, but I think probably getting the unexported stuff out of the way is good. How am I going to test this? So I have to intercept both the version call and the other stuff. Actually, I guess I don't have to, so test init client, that's fine. I can actually create another test which handles the different properties. So test client. Excuse me, test client modem. So given a modem, watched a YouTube video about Python. It was 4.5 hours, but didn't really remember much at all. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you have to find the learning method that works for you, right? Like for some people, it is videos. For some people, it's books. For some people, it's interactive hands-on. Ultimately, everybody learns in a different way, you know? Test client modem. So given a modem, we want to fetch the data from modem 0 probably. So client and the get all function will be swappable. So something like C modem text background 0, something like that. Error. Able to fetch modem. Dean WUD, welcome. Welcome to the stream. What do you think will be the barrier to learning in my case? Several years of dev under the belt, but mostly in Java. I want to try Go, but I don't want to code Go in a Java way because I know that there is Go way to write code. What's your advice about that? Yeah, so that's definitely, it's a common problem I see is when you come from another language, you kind of want to carry your old habits. So the thing is that like when you come to a new language, you should try and learn and understand the reasons that the community makes the decisions that they have. So for example, in Go, we have like the very strict code formatting. Like there are no style arguments in Go because we have a code formatter, and whether or not you like it, ultimately it helps to have one standard style. So I would recommend some of the resources I linked just a little bit above. So for example, check out the Go Tour and the Go Programming Language book. So gopl.io is a great resource. It will teach you pretty much everything you need to know about like what exactly idiomatic Go code is and such. So I would definitely recommend that. Ultimately, everybody's different, but for me, I find that books are pretty useful. Get a little bit of hands-on experience, maybe do the Go Tour, and then read a book, and then you should be pretty much good to go. The thing is with Go is that you can really pick it up in a couple of days. It's not a super complicated language at all. But in order to become idiomatic Go code, definitely that is a different thing. So, yeah, how am I gonna do this? Is this compiling? I don't think it is. Client test line 59. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Right. Map string dbus variant. Wow, that was some auto completion there. M declared but not used. Need to, there we go. So we're now querying for a different path, which is good. So the path that we expect is modem 0. Dbus object path. How long did it take me to learn Go? I think I probably picked it up within a couple of days just messing around, but until I got good at it, I think it took a long time, honestly. My original projects, like, I learned from a friend who didn't really know what he was doing either. So my original projects were not very good. I kind of, over the next, like, year or so, started learning it better, and then I started working with coworkers at DigitalOcean who were more experienced with Go, and they kind of taught me a lot of the right ways to do things. But at that time, like, for example, the Go programming language book did not exist. I definitely would recommend that now. They'll teach you a lot of the good concepts the right way, hopefully, so you can save yourself some pain. And then the service, yep. We're missing, oh, we're not, it's passing. Okay, it's passing, but there's nothing being output, right? So, the modem. Actually, what does the modem have now? It's probably, this code's probably out of date. Has a client embedded in an object, but the object no longer exists. We got rid of that. Does it need the client? I think it does, actually. Thanks for the resources. You're a fan of TDD and the mentality of test first, write code after, but that took me a long time to do that in Java, for example, until I got a good grasp of the language and etc. I'm afraid in Go, I'll not be able to write the same quality code. It will take me very long. That can discourage me at some point. Yeah, ultimately, like, it, you know, going to a new language, you're always going to be a little unsatisfied with your progress, you know. I have been learning Rust on and off for the past like year or two, and I've done a couple of projects in Rust, and every time I go back to it, I look at something and realize, you know, I could have done this better, but that's how we learn, right? Like, one of the reasons I'm streaming my code, for example, is I typically would put out like really polished stuff on GitHub and whatever else and be like, this is this project I wrote. But here, you know, for the first hour of the stream today, we kind of went down a path I didn't really like, ended up kind of starting over. So this is the process, right? Like, ultimately, you're not going to get it right on the first try usually. So it's good to go back and reconsider decisions and learn, you know. But I definitely recommend the book. As far as like TDD, I find for me TDD doesn't seem to work as well. Like, I think that I have to kind of prototype first and write tests later. That's kind of what I've been doing today, and I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. But everybody's different, you know. Anything? Yeah. Okay. So we have nothing, right? So now I think we can actually populate some data into this. So device dbus make variant test. Right. Hey, we successfully parsed a test device. Cool. Okay. I'm good with that. So this is probably at least a decent place that we're at right now. So to do test client modem. Okay. To do parse more fields for sure. So we're going to compare the modem we have versus the modem we just created. So it's complaining about XO. Ignore unexported types on the modem structure, right? Yes. Expected modem. Okay, passes. We're good. To do parse more fields for sure. So now we can query the modem successfully. To do return more fields. Kind of just want to get to the point where I can have something I can push today. It's got a lot more. This needs a lot more work on it for sure. We're nowhere near done, but it took me a while to come up with a testing paradigm here that I liked. I wasn't happy with the way it was coming before when I was trying to mock the dbus stuff itself. So swapping out the entire function makes things much easier, of course. But now we actually have to write like an integration test of some sort, so it's probably a good idea. Let's see here. So func test integration client. Let's see here. Modem manager dial. Cancel context with timeout. So the test will be canceled, or things will be canceled after 5 seconds. Seems like a good idea. Cancel. CTX. Failed to dial. C close. Import cycle is not allowed. Ah, right. There we go. Right. Okay. So on my machine that works, but now we need something that's going to work in a CI environment as well. I wonder how easy it is to like install network manager and such in like a in that environment, like the CI environment. If I run this on my server is not using network manager because it doesn't need to. Or modem manager. I'm only using it on my router. So if I build this binary and run this on my router, I think we'd actually get a different answer here, which could be useful to look at. So yeah, we need to rectify that as well. Cgo. Let's go over to the server. Let's see what happens. It's not provided by any .service files. So this indicates that modem manager is not present at all, which is good, I suppose. So what does that return? Actually, let's dump this error here. Wrapped error. Really? That doesn't make much sense, I don't think. Failed to get property version. The name was not provided by any service files. I feel like that should give me like a more well-typed error, I would think. Errors unwrap. Dbus error. Okay. So printf service unknown. There we go. Okay, so we can look for this. This will give us an indication of whether or not the service exists, which is good. So we'll be able to return something that is more useful for the caller. So I wonder if if the modem manager service does not exist, error will be returned. So we're gonna need to check for, check for that. So does not exist. Error compatible with, there we go. Right, so now within init here, we can actually unwrap the error. Is it a pointer? No, it's not a pointer. It's so weird. Okay, errors as. So now it's unwrapped. So if the error name equals this, we return a new error. So let's see here. Failed to how do I want to phrase this? So we failed to connect to Modem Manager. Failed to find Modem Manager service. OS error not exist. Modem Manager service not found? Could not be found? Modem Manager service not found. Yeah, seems good. So this will actually give us an error that we can actually unwrap in the nice way and provide nice info to our caller here. So, right. So if we run this now, file does not exist. Good, 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 good. So now we can actually test for that as well. Init client okay. Init client not found. Return a dbus error. Is that error? Oh. Unknown. Interesting. So it looks like it's already got some predefined errors. Let's check those out really quick. I don't know if they're going to be useful for us, but we can at least check them out. Right? Variables. Invalid args, unknown. Yeah, those are what we want. So we want to return that unknown service string or whatever. So service unknown. Service unknown. Service unknown. And let's see here. We return a empty dbus variant because there's nothing for us to return, and we return a dbus error with the name of service unknown. And that should do it, I would think. Service does not found. Excellent, excellent. Okay. We're getting there. Oh. So now, if not errors is error OS error not exist. expected, not found, or expected does not exist, but got does not exist error. Cool. So now we have verified that behavior, which is good. And we should be able to do the same thing for the modem, I would think. So going back to my system, because my system is not running any modems, but it is running Network Manager. It's convenient here. We have 3 different systems that have no Modem Manager with no modems managed, mouthful, and then Modem Manager with a modem as well. So no such interface. Yeah, none of these are useful for me, unfortunately. Let's see here. So no such interface. Client modem, okay. Error equals nil, and if errors is error not exist. Skip F, skipping, modem, manager not found. So this way we can skip the integration tests if modem manager is not found, and then from here we'd actually look up the modems. So let's see here. Does this work? It does so far. Okay, good. So we'll copy this test as well. Test client modem not found. Right. So now in this case, you're pretending that Modem Manager does work, but the modem itself is not found. So the error in that case, running it on my local machine, what do I get? So failed to get modem 0. We'll do the unwrapping manually again. Build unknown method. Is that really the... I guess it makes sense. Error unknown method. But that's like not quite right. I don't understand this. I feel like these variables are not useful because they don't even match up with what I'm seeing. So I think I just have to look for this instead, this string. Unknown method indicates you're calling a method on a modem or something that doesn't exist. So let's see here. Method unknown. Service unknown, unknown method. That's a weird little inconsistency, but we're going to go with it. So method unknown. Same logic. Actually, I suppose we could handle these within the, well, handle within the get function. No, we don't want to do that. We want to do this again. So method unknown. Modem %d was not found. Right? So now if I run this, failed to get modem 0 not found, file does not exist. Excellent. So same sort of thing. We basically copy and paste the previous logic, but now we return a slightly different error type because that is what this type returns instead. So, and I guess while we're here, we're going to underscore all these variables because we don't want them. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to push this tonight. I'm going to want to tinker with this some more tomorrow, but I think in a sec here we're going to wrap up the stream. So that's still a couple hour short thing, you know, just kind of wanted to get on here and do a little bit of work. Oh shoot, I just undid my work, didn't I? Welp. Did I? Oh. So this is the OK test. This is already done. And this is going to be the not found test. Not found. So that should work. And now I think we're going to have good coverage. No, can I use func literal? Oh, what did I forget? Of course, I can't read it. Oh, it's something in the tests. Okay. Let's close that. Line 49 is a get func, right? Because it's not a get func, it's a get all func, right? It's different. Are there two of these? Yeah, is that why? Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So I want to clean this up some more for sure, but this seems to work. We are now parsing the individual dbus errors that indicate if something is out of place. So for example, when the service is unknown, we're actually able to see if ModemManager does not exist in this machine, so we cannot possibly dial it, which is good. And also we can check if you look for a modem with an index that does not exist. So for example, if you have one modem and you query for index 1 instead of index 0, this will now also return an is not exist error. So that's good. Okay. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up for the night. I've got plans in a little bit. Need to go get some dinner. Yeah, thank you all for hanging out. I do appreciate it. We will probably be streaming again. Let's see here. Let me check my calendar. This might be the last stream for a little bit. So this weekend I've got family plans and I'm on vacation next week. So yeah, this might be the last stream for about a week and a half, probably. I guess we'll see. But appreciate you all hanging out. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody really streaming tonight we can throw a raid to, but thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, and have a good evening. Bye now.